Former President Donald Trump's influence over the Republican Party was confirmed again during yesterday's primaries. Several Trump-backed candidates won their party's nominations, and that includes Wisconsin's Tim Michels, who beat former Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Kleefisch to become the Republican nominee for governor. So here for more analysis on this is Corrinne Hess. She's a political reporter for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
We will get into the governor's race, but let us start with Wisconsin's Senate race. It'll be one of the most competitive and closely watched ones. Why is that? How important is Wisconsin to the midterms?
Well, Wisconsin's very important to the midterms. You know, we're a swing state. We've got the Republican National Convention now confirmed to come here in 2014. So we're a very closely watched state.
Let's talk about the former president's choice for governor, Tim Michels. Am I saying that right?
Michels.
Okay. Sorry there. He won the GOP primary over former Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Kleefisch, who was backed by former Vice President Mike Pence. How much has this gubernatorial campaign become? I mean, it's clear that it's a proxy war between the former president and the former vice president, because we've seen it play out in other primaries across the country.
Well, what happened here in Wisconsin is Republican voters decided to sort of set aside the establishment party that's happened here over the last decade and back the Trump establishment. And what they did was they backed Tim Michels, who has come out and said he would overturn the results of the 2020 election. You know, they didn't choose Rebecca Kleefisch, who was the lieutenant governor under our former governor, Scott Walker. She also had the backing of prominent business groups and law enforcement, but voters, you know, they just were not interested in her. She never could gain momentum here. And when Tim Michels launched his campaign 3 months ago, he threw $10 million of his own money into it. And people here they were kind of mesmerized by him.
Corrinne, you said something that I want people sort of to stop and listen to. One of the things that Tim Michels said that he would do was back legislation, back or support legislation that would decertify the 2020 election. That is something that all the candidates were asked whether or not they would support. That is something that can't be done. There isn't a mechanism. It's not legal. It's not a thing. But he was willing to say that he would consider that, and that's what helped him win. That's stunning to me.
Yes. And thank you for pointing that out. It can't be done. It can't legally be done. But he has said he would do it. And I think that messaging did help him win.
But so what's fascinating to me is that you have a party, the Republican Party, that is backing these candidates that make these sort of outlandish claims, whether it's about the 2020 election or what.
Well, can I clarify something?
Yeah.
You know, you said you have a Republican Party, but we had Mike Pence, who was backing another candidate, right?
Right, but
it's in terms of the voters, you mean?
Not just the voters, but I mean the Republican National Committee, right? Which is throwing its efforts behind whichever candidate is being endorsed by the former president of the United States. And many of these candidates in other states, for example, in the state of Georgia with candidate Herschel Walker, or in Pennsylvania with Dr. Oz, the question becomes, yes, you can win the primary, but can you win the general? I mean, I think it would be, if you could give us a sense of Wisconsin, the state overall, can a candidate like that, saying the kinds of things that they're saying, can they win in a general election? Because it's one thing to have Republicans, and you have a preponderance of Trump supporters in the party, it does appear, voting for a primary candidate. It's quite another when you're going statewide.
Well, I mean, that'll be the big question, is how successful this message will go, you know, for the next 90 days, which is what we have until our general election. Our sitting governor, Democratic Governor Tony Evers, just launched his campaign today. So we'll have to see how hard he goes on getting the messaging across that these promises being made are just impossible.
So let me ask you about another race. Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes won the Democratic primary for the state's Senate seat after 3 of his top opponents dropped out. He'll face off against Republican incumbent Senator Ron Johnson in the November midterm. Does Barnes stand a realistic chance of beating Johnson?
You know, some polling shows that he does. I don't know. It all depends on who gets out to vote.
There you have it.
That's the bottom line.
At the end of the day, right?
At the end of the day.
How are you going to win the game? You gotta get more baskets.
You gotta, but you also got to be in it to win it. I mean, in other words, you got to rally enough voters to come in and vote for you. So we'll be watching. Corrinne Hess, always great to have you. Thank you very much for your reporting.
Thank you.